Hello everyone and welcome to the part 2 of learning AWS IoT core with Node-RED. Now in the part 1 we have learned about what IoT is, we installed Node-RED, we actually did fairly complex flow creation, Node-RED flow creation, and we actually took care of the right side of the equation or right side of this functionality where the car was able to send the information about the heart brakes and the peak speed, and that information was then collected on a topic and then sent to DynamoDB table without writing a single line of code. Now we want to cover a more important topic, or one of the most important topics of AWS IoT core, which is called as device shadows and device shadow service. Now let's first understand what is why do we need that, right? So we have seen earlier in the demo, if nobody is listening to a particular topic, the messages get lost, right? Now that's just the way it works out of the box with MQTT on AWS. But what if, let's say, your device, when you are sending it a particular command, is offline, right? There should be a way for device to gather that information and then act on it once it comes back online, right? And that's why the device shadows are there. Again, without doing too much of a talking, we are going to go ahead pretty quickly into a demo and demonstrate that. Our strategy is that the device should be able to report us the fuel levels and the tire pressure, and later on, once our car is stolen, right, we are gonna go on to a app. So let's go ahead and notice that the car is able to tell us, should be able to tell us the fuel percentage and the tire pressure. And then once we say that someone stole my car, the car itself should go ahead and immobilize itself, as in it should not start on the next startup, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve using device shadows. Remember that device shadows are extremely useful when you are not able to connect your devices, right? Maybe the devices are offline or they are getting over their update when they are not functional, and once they come back online, they should be able to get the messages that you sent to them. And since the device was not listening earlier while it was not functional, those messages would have been lost earlier. But with device shadows, those messages will get delivered, or there is a way for the car, in this case, to pull those messages and get the work done. So we're gonna see that demo right away. So let's go ahead and get into the demo. Alright, so I am back into the AWS console, and now we are going to go ahead and create a shadow. Think of shadow as the data about your IoT device that is available on AWS IoT and is available even if your device is not connected. It's almost like the digital twin of your device, even if the device itself is offline. So let's go ahead. So I'm in Thing, and let's go ahead into the Thing, click here, and I'm going to go ahead into device shadows, create a shadow, and I'm going to go ahead and create a named shadow. You can also create an unnamed shadow, which is an older version of the shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and call it car status, create. So now as soon as you create this car status, notice that the shadow is the state of your device in AWS IoT. So in this case, the state could either be desired or reported, which is to say what does the device reports and what do we want. So if the device is offline, we can go ahead and change its status, or even if it is online, obviously we can change it. But once the device does come online, it's going to pull that information and check whether the desired status is different than the reported status, and it can go ahead and change its own status. We're going to check a demo for this, but for now, understand that we did create a shadow, and a shadow has to be accessed using some specialized topic URLs, and there you can find you can find them in this tab. So notice that these are all the operations that you can do. You can get the information about the shadow. So for that you have to use this URL. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, if you do this yourself, you're gonna learn a lot more. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new flow, and let's go ahead and create our standard inject node and an MQTT out, and put them together. And here I'm gonna go ahead and paste the topic, and really that's that. And I'm gonna send an empty value to this, and I'm gonna explain why I'm doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and send an empty value. Go ahead and say done. I've linked this documentation in the blog, but notice that if we send now, here is where we talk about the different topics that we have, right, for this particular shadow. And notice that for get, we can go here and scroll down here, and it says this is a topic, and there is a documentation that says we can, in fact, hold on, let me go to delete and then go to get /get. So notice that if we send, it does say somewhere that if we send an empty message here, yeah, see, notice it says publish an empty message, and if we send that to this topic, we get a response back on get accepted topic. So let's try to do that. So let's go ahead and also create an MQTT in. Go ahead and do that, and let's go ahead and put a debug here. There we go. Again, please do this yourself, and you're gonna understand it a lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and say done. Make this 0. It says get accepted. So done. And I'm gonna say that this is going to be a JSON message so that it's easier to read actually. So what we're doing is we're sending an empty message to get, and then we are listening on get /accepted. Again, if you do it yourself, it's going to be much easier to understand, and you can go through the documentation as well. I'm going to say deploy, and we are sending it to the topics that we found out from here, right? So let's go ahead and try to get the current status. So when I send it, so notice that if I go here, this gets highlighted, which means when I send the message to get, I got a response back on the get accepted. So this is what your device is supposed to do when it comes back online. It should just try to get a status, and once in the status it finds that the desired state is different than the one that is there, it should be able to change it. Now notice that it's the same in these case, plus this is not very car specific. So that's the next thing we are going to do, is we are going to update or reset this shadow. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, I'm going to get the inject node. So here I'm resetting the shadow. So I'm going to put some comments here. When you download these flows, you're going to get some comments here so that you don't get lost into these flows. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get an MQTT out. There we go. Connect these two together, and here it says I have to send to the update topic. Where is that updated topic? Accepted, rejected, yeah, update. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that and paste it here. Everything seems all right. So sending it to this topic, but now we need to send a car specific message. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Again, this will be there in the blog, or if you just download the flows and import them, this should come with that. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to JSON, and so now I'm giving some car specific details here. I'm going to go ahead and say done, and let's call it reset shadow data, something like that. Go ahead and do say done, clean this up. As always, now notice that just like when we send to get, and on the get accepted we got the response. Similarly, if the update goes successful, we get a response back on update accepted. Okay, and also we get some response back on the delta if there is a difference between the desired state and the reported states, which we will see a little bit later. But for now, let's try to get another node going here. So I'm gonna name this one 0. Again, get this a parse JSON object. So, and get a debug node going and connect these two together. Right, let's go ahead and do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and deploy this, reset this information, which will reset our shadow, and we should get the response back in the update accepted. So let's go ahead and do that. We should also see in the shadow document that this gets updated. So let's go ahead and do that. So update and send. So notice that now two things we got information back. So now notice that here, if we click here, so this is basically, yeah, so here is, okay, let's see, let me scroll down here. So now notice that this is refreshed, and in the reported and the desired, we see this fuel level and all that, which was not there earlier. So let's go ahead and see if in the AWS IOT this has gotten updated. So notice that it has. So this welcome remains as before, so please ignore this, but notice that whatever we sent out, which is this car specific information, we were able to reset the shadow of the device. Now what we are going to do is, notice that there is no difference between the reported state and the desired state, but let's say we do want to let's say change that particular thing, right? So how do we do that, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Later we'll reset this info again. So what I'm going to do is go and so what we have done is we have sent an empty message to get the current status. In fact, we can do that now here as well. So I'm going to send it, and notice that here is where I got, so this, so notice that the current status is the one that we sent. We had resetted. So now if we change something, let's say we change from of stolen false to true, we should also get that delta information in. So let's go ahead and use that topic. So if we go into these topics, it says there is a delta topic as well. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to create an MQTT in and use this topic, make this to be 0, make this to be parse JSON object, done. And I'm going to go ahead and say debug and copy this here. Right, so now if we change something, right, we should get some changes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these two together and paste this. So okay, hold on, so I'm gonna just so now what I'm planning to do is go ahead and change one of the items here. So, and we can make it anything that we want. So what I'm going to do is change this stolen from true to false to true. Sorry, not here. I'm gonna go ahead and do that here. So I'm gonna say that the car is stolen. So say done here, done. So instead of resetting, I'm gonna say car stolen, right? Done, deploy. So now we should get some information back on this delta topic, because there is a difference, right? So let's go ahead and run this. So I run it. So now notice that if we see here, there is some change, and this one is the update accepted. So our update of car stolen has got updated, and also, so let's go ahead and look into that. So notice that here the full information came in. The reported is this, and the desired is stolen is true. But if you see here, which is lighting up the delta response. It is just giving the difference, which is the state stolen true. So what it is saying is, hey device, when you get this info, update your status to be stolen as true. So let's go ahead and do that. But before we did that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and update the shadow document back to what it was, which was basically stolen to be not true anywhere. I'll go ahead and do that. I just wanted to show you the delta concept. So now this is basically stolen false both places. And if we send the empty message, we should get that back. So go ahead and do that. So notice now we have changed it to stolen false both places. Now what we want is to do is basically write sort of a device code where we are saying, if the delta state says that stolen is true, go ahead and update that into reported state as well, and also immobilize the car once next time it starts. Now again, for that we're going to use a function. So go ahead and use a function here. Right, so there we go. So once the message comes in, and then the code for that we already have here, and this will be part of your flow anyways. Again, it is going to sound a little bit difficult initially, but once you do it yourself, read a little bit of a documentation, these things are going to get much easier. So what we are saying here is, so let me just update the code here and then I'll explain. So what I'm saying is, I'm creating a new state here, or new message here, and from the original payload, if the state is stolen to be true, then I'm going ahead and updating the reported state also to be true, right? Reported also to be stolen as true, and I'm saying immobilize on the next startup to be true as well, and returning that message. If that's not the case, I'm going ahead and returning a null, right? And I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a little bit. So now once I get this information, this needs to be updated back to the shadow. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this node and get this maybe here, and now just go ahead and update that. So notice what this function is doing is, whatever is delta coming in, if the delta has stolen state to be true, it is updating the device's internal state to be stolen as well, or car's internal state to be that as well, and then it is going to update the reported state to be stolen by sending an update to this topic, which is update, right? Shadow update, and that's really that. So again, we should get if we say now the car is stolen, because if you see now, if you run it now, notice that both states are not stolen. Okay. But now what we want to do is, we're gonna say the car is stolen. So clean this up, and after this what should happen is, car is stolen, it should come here, and the function should run, and then it should go ahead and also update the reported status as well. So go ahead and run that. So notice that it ran, okay, and yeah, so now notice if we now go and check, so notice that it just got refreshed, that the reported status is also stolen as true, and it is going to immobilize on the startup, right? Which is what this function actually ended up doing, right? Immobilize on the startup as true, right? So that's really good. So now we were able to send this information. We were able to get a delta of the desired state, and using a function we actually updated. So and we were able to update the status, and that's really that. So that's really good. If the device is online, this kind of works, that as soon as it gets the information on the delta topic which it is subscribed to, it can update its reported state. Now there is a chance that the device is offline, or your car is offline. The thief has taken the car and put it somewhere where it cannot connect to AWS IoT. Then later when it connects, this information is gone, right? Because nobody is listening to it. So how do we fix that, right? And the main selling point of shadows is, should have functionality even if device is offline and then comes online. So for that, we're going to implement something interesting here. So what we are going to do Now is we're going to use another topic. I'm going to go ahead and disable this, right? I'm going to go ahead and reset the shadow data so that we can run that stolen car example once more. I should have actually deployed this. Hold on. So let's go ahead and deploy this and go ahead and reset the shadow data. I think we have, now we should be good. I'll try to get this information back. So both should be basically false, stolen false, and don't worry about this immobilize on next startup. We never change this for this demo, so it remains that, but just focus on this false part. So now what if the device was offline, right, and then it came online? How do we supposed to handle that, right? So notice this is what we simulated here. So if we send car stolen now, right, let me send that. Earlier, remember, the reported state would get updated, so I'm going to send it now. So go ahead and car stolen. Now we send that, but because this part is not the device is not connected, nobody is listening to this delta topic. Let's see what really happened, right? If we again try to get the info, even if we made it to be stolen, notice that the stolen is true here, but in the reported it remains false because the device or the car was not listening. Again, it's going to sound a little bit difficult, but if you do this in the same order as I have, it's going to make much more sense to you and you're going to easily understand this, or at least it's going to be much easier to understand it by doing. Now if I bring this device online, go ahead and do that and deploy. So notice that really nothing happens, right? If we come here and refresh, while the desired state is true, the device missed this update, right? And the stolen state remained false in the reported. Now, how do we tackle this? And the reason for that was it was offline. So let's make it offline once more. So in this case, what we can do is every time the device comes online, it can actually do this, can send an empty message, and instead of getting the just send the empty message, and then from there listen to this topic, or there is another topic that it can listen to. In fact, we can go and see here. There is a documents topic, right? And from that topic, what it can do is get the information back just like this, and then if the desired state and the reported state doesn't match, it can change the reported state, right, once it comes offline. So let's implement that. So we already I'm going to copy this just so that you know, and I'll put some nice comments here just so that you know it is a little bit more legible, because we've just put in so many flows here. So now the device has come online. So what he's going to do is gonna send a status request, and we are going to use a different function in this case. So we'll update that, but now let me get this get accepted, right? And we could actually use the documents node as well, but for now let's check if that get accepted works for us. So go ahead and paste it here, right? So device has come online back, right? And now it has got this in, now it is checking whether the desired state and the reported state are different, right? Meaning the device state is different. So now I'm gonna get another function in the middle here, and in this function I'm going to add this code basically, and I'll explain this really quickly as well. So here what I'm saying is if the payload is let's say if the desired state is stolen, then go ahead and update the reported state as stolen as well. It's almost same as the one that we had before when we are listening to the delta topic, but for delta topic the device had to be online. I'm going to go ahead and say here, and now this function is gonna send a debug message, but also we need to send the information to here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, which is to say we have to update the shadow, and you know what, I'm gonna name this so that this becomes a little small, small sort of an element. So I'm going to say update shadow, but please remember that this is being sent to the update topic. So, and there we go. In fact, let's keep it that way. Much easier. So now what we are doing basically is here. So what we're doing is we are trying to get the device has come back online, and it is trying to get its status, and it gets it back on this topic, and in the function it checks whether or not desired state is stolen, in which case update the reported state as stolen as well, just like before, but in this case it was not online. I'm going to go ahead and deploy this, and let's see if this works. Another thing we have to do is, yeah, that should be fine. Deploy this, everything good, connected. So now notice that if we try to get the information, or we can just look at it here, notice that the desired state is true, stolen is true, and the reported state is false. This update was missed. So now what device can do is it can come back up and then go ahead and ask the get topic, and once it gets information back, it can change this reported status as well. So let's go ahead and see if this works. So let's go ahead, and now I'm getting a status. So now notice that if we come here I think somewhere, yeah, so this got refreshed. So after the output of the function says stolen is true, right? And let's see if that got updated here. So notice that now the reported state has gotten updated as true. So what actually happened was device came back from offline to online. It checked whether there is something needs to be updated. It called or it sent an empty message to get topic. From there it got the information back saying, look, your status, desired status and reported status are different, and the function, and this is basically going to be the device code, even though we are prototyping it here within the IoT console. It understood that yes, there is a difference, and then it wanted to adjust for that, and it did that through this function, and then it sent the reported state as updated. So if you see here, this is what was sent. So hold on, so this is what was sent. Notice that this gets highlighted. So this is what was sent to the AWS IoT saying, look, please update the reported status to be stolen to be true. And that's really that. I'm going to go ahead and save this update. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create this, export this flow as is. I'm going to call this as hold on, so this, I'm going to call this as part 2, and export this. So make sure you do this the way I did it, one by one, and only refer to these flows when necessary, as opposed to just downloading this and running it. It's better to do it by yourself. It's not a lot of work once you get a hang of it. And I'm going to go ahead and export this as well, and this will be available as part of the download as well, right? So just all flows and download. Yeah, so that's that really. Okay, so do check out this blog, the part 1 as well as part 2. So let's summarize what we did just now, right? So what we did was we implemented the second functionality using the AWS IoT core device shadows. We understood what shadows are and what are the topics that are to be used with shadows. We used almost all of these. Maybe we might have, almost all of these. And initially what we did was we actually first sent an empty message. We created a shadow from here by saying create shadow. So if you went to my connected car, we went ahead and said we can also create another shadow because this is name shadow. And once we create the shadow, we sent an empty message. We got the response back as the welcome to IoT, that default one. Then we resetted the shadow with car specific information. And then we learned how the reset, when we send to update, it responds back, IoT responds back on this topic. Then we updated it to car stolen, and we saw the information being sent as a delta. And using this function, we updated the reported state also to be stolen. Now this part is to be implemented by your device code, maybe using AWS IoT SDK or any device specific code to interact with MQTT. And then after that, we realized that if the device were offline, it would have missed this update. And how do we fix that? So we did implement that here, where we sent an empty message just like before, right? This is the same exact code actually, and we got the response back on accepted. And then we ran another function where we checked whether the desired state is stolen. Yes, then update the reported state as stolen as well. And then we sent out a debug message here as well. So that way we have implemented both the functionalities. In the part 1, we implemented the functionality where the car actually sent some information which was then sent to this car stats topic, and from there it was picked up and sent to DynamoDB without writing any code, and it went into the DynamoDB just with configurations. And then in this particular one, we learned about shadows. Shadows are basically digital twins of your devices, and say a specific set of topics are used to implement the shadow service as a whole. We learned about some of those topics, and we implemented the second use case where if a car is stolen, it understands that we can flip a switch basically, and say that, hey, we feel that the car is stolen, and once car receives that message, it can internalize that and immobilize on the next startup, so that the thief cannot then use that car anymore. So that's how that's all basically for this particular demo. Do make sure if you have any questions, please put them into the chat under the video on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to this channel, and also go through the blog. All the links that we used in this particular blog or in this particular video will be part of the blog as well. All right, thank you very much, and happy cloud computing everyone. Bye.